What up, ladies and gentlemen? Jesse Warden here. Today we are going to attempt to do the Advent of Code Day 3 Challenge 1 and 2. If you're not aware, Advent of Code is a coding exercise website that kind of has like a story behind it where every day you code something to save Santa Claus and Christmas somehow. And you can use whatever language you want. Some people use it to learn a programming language. Other people use it to get better at a language they already know. Other people are just bored, want a challenge. Some people have used Excel. Some person is using awk. And a couple years ago, there was a person who used a circuit board. So you do not have to use programming to do it. But was going to use Elm, just like I've used the past 2 years. And it's a strictly typed functional programming language for building web apps. And it's nice because I can not only solve this algorithm stuff with code, but then kind of draw it. And sometimes that helps. Sometimes you can solve things faster with UIs, but it's harder because most of the people doing this are not building UIs. So my youngest daughter convinced me to do Roblox this year. And the pro is I actually know Lua pretty reasonably well, but I'm more of a functional developer and Lua is not functionally programming. It has no types. And Roblox has modified things, and I'm not very good at Roblox. So the first 2 days have actually gone well. I've spent most of my time learning how to do buttons in Roblox. But anyway, so today's challenge is, I think, some kind of pathfinding. And I'm trying to remember if I solved this last year with a bunch of reduce functions instead of for loops. It might just be easier to do for loops. So I might try that first, just so the code's more approachable. But I haven't done for loops in forever, so I might actually be out of practice. But anyway, we're going to try it. So I'm going to not look at the chat much, but I will swipe over in a few minutes. So basically, if you're wanting to participate, day 1 and 2 are actually reasonably simple. The first day is having 2 nested for loops, right? You have 2 arrays that you just patch. That's how I approached it. And then day 2 was that plus string parsing. So you just take a string, you split it on certain parts, put it in an object, and then compare all those objects. So from a challenge perspective, if you want to catch up to day 3, you definitely can do that. Day 2 and day 1 were reasonably approachable if you've done, array parsing and things like that. All right, so I am going to attempt to parse in my puzzle input, which is basically trees, and then attempt to figure out how I'm going to increment on the fly each one and detect if it's a tree or not. So let's dodge the mic here and let's see if we can get our puzzle input. So that's my puzzle input. Everyone has unique puzzle input. And I'm going to go to Roblox Studio here. I've already got day 3 puzzle 1 set up, ready to go. I just was playing with tree cloning this morning. I've never done any type of vector math. I'm not really good at 3D. Don't know much about it. So that's okay. We're going to attempt to do it. So if you're not aware, I've already got, day 1 and 2. You can actually click the buttons and run them slow. They're using coroutines so they can run at the same time. It's another way of saying make your code slow so it can run with other slow code, but it works. And so I got day 1 and day 2 puzzles. So today I was thinking if I got challenge 1 and 2 completed, then I could actually render it with trees. In fact, it'd be even cooler if I could render this whole thing as trees and just walk the path and then do the first day 1 challenge by just walking the path. So I don't have to write any code. I just generate a bunch of trees. But I'm going to be conservative because I might need it for challenge 2. So I'm going to write the code first, then spend maybe an hour until I get exhausted trying to generate some trees. So let's go do that. And I'll hop over to social media just to make sure no one's yelling at me. All right, so the first thing, I'm going to copy this input into the puzzle input. And my puzzle input, yep, I've already got it in there. So what I need to do is treat each new line as a row, and each one of these is a column. So I'll basically have a multi-dimensional array. Lua tables are basically a catch-all for both objects or dictionaries and arrays or lists. So I'm probably going to have tables within tables. And this is a pretty large set of rows. The columns aren't too bad, but it's okay. They're going to be multidimensional and the same, so that might make some of the math easier. So let's parse this in with a map first. So I've kind of spent a few days ahead of time bringing in some of my functional programming libraries. It's not like Lodash, but it's more like a little bit of Lodash, a little bit of Folktale V2, and it allows me to parse things easier. Let's get rid of this. I can put this at the bottom for now. I don't need this. All right, so I loaded text in on day 2. Let's see how I did that. And then I'll copy the same thing. Okay, I can do that. So what I'm going to do is read in my puzzle input, which is actually just puzzle input. I have it imported up here. So this script right here, I'm importing using their Roblox modified require. In Lua, it's like a text path, very similar to Node.js require or Python require. But in this case, it's actually a script that's a child of U. So you go up to the parent of the script and then import it. It's very strange. But this puzzle input has a method on it that doesn't need scope, so I just do dot instead of colon. It gives me the text input. Now I need to get the rows parsed from the new line, so that'll give me the rows, and then that should be about 300. So I'm going to go ahead and print that out. And it should show a bunch of rows as a table. Let me just print out one and then print out one of that. If this doesn't work, I'll use this what's it called? Repper. It's some script I found that pretty prints in Roblox. So let's try this. I got puzzle 1, and I think run slow. This button's already detected to run puzzle 1. It is. Okay. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to play my own game locally. I'm not sharing it right now because I don't know how to do source control in Roblox, and I've watched the horrors of when my daughter plays and all her friends like accidentally delete things. It's not malicious at all. It's just there's no source control. All right, so let's see what the console says here. All right, my first exception. Fantastic. All right, so it doesn't like 21 for attempt in puzzle 1. No, the number 21. Okay. So let's go to day 1, line 21. And, okay, so yeah, it doesn't even see the rows. Interesting. Okay. Well, if I split on new line, it should give me a row. Let's try that. And then sometimes when you quit while you code, it doesn't actually get your code sometimes. So if you forget your coding while you're playing the game, you might lose those changes, which is crazy. And I've heard there's a way to use Rojo, which is, I believe, Spanish for red. It's a tool set that allows you to code in like Visual Studio Code, and you can reload in Roblox automatically without restarting, but I'm going to look at that tomorrow morning. For now, so it is pulling the table. Oh, you know what I did? Classic mistake. I've been in JavaScript all day. Well, not all day, for about 30 minutes. And you know what JavaScript does? Like every other programming language, its arrays start at 0, but not Lua. Nope. It starts at 1, just like director's lingo. Always the outliers. All right, so let's change it to 1, 1. That'll give us the first item in the array, which is our first column, and the first item in that column, which should be an empty tree or a dot. And it's nil, okay? It's not a good first start. Let's try running this. You know, and I'm wondering if I could actually code this algorithm just locally to play, but I don't know how to load text files locally. So it might be faster just to code it in Roblox. I don't know. We'll see. If it becomes really bad tonight where I have to rerun over and over, I may just bite the bullet and figure out Rojo. But I don't want to do that live. Yeah, I think it'd be more fun to show how I'm mature in age and learn patience. Okay, so the row is there. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't parse the row, the column. Getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited that I learned how to clone a tree this morning. I can't even focus on coding. I just want to build trees. I don't actually want to solve the coding problem because I'm so excited. Okay, so we have rows. Now we need to parse those. So let's get columns, rows, and columns, I guess. And we'll just abbreviate cols, so it's 4 letters just like rows is. And let's get a reference to map because we're going to be using her a lot. So we'll say map is Lua FP collection map, I think. And map takes 2 parameters. It takes a function, which only gets the item. I'm not concerned about index, but I may change that later. And it doesn't need a name. And it takes the list that you're dealing with. So if I loop through rows, it's going to change the row, which is fine. That's fine. I'm totally cool with that. So how do I split a string that doesn't have any? I wonder if I can split on empty string. Let's try that. Let's do return string.split item, and then we'll just do empty string and see if that works. And then we'll print out the first row, which should give me a table now. So I should be able to go rows 1, row 1. Let's find out. It'll be fun.com if it works the first try. So good news, because I've done these challenges 2 years, 3 years, 3 years in a row, whatever. The first 2 days worked the first try. I'm notorious for being impatient and getting... Like you can submit about 3 times really quickly, like a different answer, but then they slow you down. So like you can't be a bot and like try different answers. I at one point I had to wait an hour to try again. It was so frustrating because my code was so bad, but I couldn't wait. Okay, so that didn't quite work. Let's see why my first array didn't quite. Oh, well, I'm printing rows because I'm a moron. It's a different variable. I'm so used to having types and compilers nowadays that when I'm back in dynamic language land, it's like, well, you know, the strength of dynamic languages is that you write the code and you test and iterate quickly. Seeing a beach ball and waiting a few seconds, I wouldn't cite as testing quickly. Would you? No. They say you learn patience as you get older. I haven't learned it yet. Fantastic. It worked. All right. So that's a dot. Cool. So now we need to change dot to tree. So let's use it as... something different. Let's just use string so I can actually read what the heck I'm doing here. I think that's reasonable. All right, so we got our rows and columns, which is a multi-dimensional table, but I don't like that. I want to map on this guy. So let's change this. Let's say our local like strings. Let's see. This is tree or not string. Well, it's a list, but I don't like it. What I want to do is return a mapped version of this that gets the string tree or not. And if string tree or not is equal to a dot, then return what's the absence of a tree? Not no tree, not sans tree. Empty. There we go. Empty. Because we might be building tiles, so that'll be helpful. Otherwise, for now, it's a tree. We're not going to do the else because I don't want to deal with the if else. So that should give us an empty. And then while that's running, let me look at my puzzle input. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I check out item 10, it should give me a tree if my parsing code isn't garbage. Garbage. Oh, no pointer. In 37. Did I do it wrong? What did I do wrong now? I forgot the array because I'm a moron.com. Tree or not list. I'm not a moron. I just need more coffee. At 7:09 at night. So I did that the other night on Tuesday when software was breaking. And then I had a Red Bull, and I was up to like 1. Then I woke up at 4:30. That didn't go well. You need your sleep if you want to code well and live life to its fullest and survive this pandemic. So your number one priority should be survival, and to facilitate that, sleep is your best weapon, your first weapon. Everything else is tertiary. All right, it's empty. Fantastic. So now I should do, did I say 10? Anyone in the chat remember 10? My happy gecko, what the heck? Is that Her Majesty as a gecko? Tyler Jacobson. What's up, buddy? Chop tree. That's right. I think it's 10. Let's try 10. I'm going to do 10. Hopefully, if this is tree, then we're good. We've successfully parsed our puzzle input, and we could attempt to start iterating through that tree with a second set of nested either maps or for loops or something like that. Let's do it. Run slow, tree. Fantastic. I'm so happy right now. All right. So now that we have our multi-dimensional list, they want us to go, if I read the puzzle right, where's the puzzle? They want me to go right 3 and down 1. And then once you're at the end, you need to know that you're done. Okay, so I think what we can do is let's do a loop again, or maybe it's better to do a for loop. Let's do a for loop. This will be easier to reason about because we need rows and columns, and if you have a nested for loop of, we used to do this in Flash all the time, where you would like need to draw things in a grid or a table, or do, before they had media queries, you had to like measure. So if you do a nested for loop, it's actually easier to reason about. But I always get pairs and I-pairs confused. Loop, table, Lua. Is it I-pairs or pairs? I think it's I-pairs for key value. Okay, so we'll do a for loop for now. If you're a functional programmer, don't judge me, because I'm so sick and tired of using reduce for all this stuff. So let's do the key value, which is actually not a key value. It's actually not. I think it's pairs. I-pairs. Yeah, it's pairs because we don't currently have an object. Lua pairs. What's the difference? Pairs does an array. Key value pairs. I-pairs gives you a key and an index. Why do you call it key value? Like, that's not what it is. It's an index. These dynamic language people, they're so nuts. All right, we'll change it to a pairs, and then we'll say index, and we'll say item, and the array we're dealing with is the rows and columns, which will give us, it's not an item actually, it's a row. Right. And then within that, we can do, what is this, a row index? We'll say row index. This is a column index. And we're going to get a column as we loop inside of that particular row, because the row is going to have, I don't know, like 20 or 30 tiles and trees. And then from there, we can print out, let's print out some columns. Let's see how it works. Print the column. I should get like 2,000 prints on the screen, and this may crash Roblox. Let's save and pray to God it backs up my code. Why is it not like rows and columns? Oh, rows and cols. I abbreviated things and must suffer the consequences of my actions by not understanding my variables because they're not written in English. All right, so that should print out like 20 billion things to the console once I click the button. Let's click the button. Run slow. Click. Holy fish. Fantastic. Oh, God, it's still going. I probably should have put a wait in there. We'll deal with coroutines after this. All right. So that's fantastic. I can now successfully loop. And now I need to have, oh, gosh, a stateful iterator to loop through this stuff. So let's say, what is it? Current row. Current row is 1. Current column is 1. And they wanted me to go, what is it again? Right 3, down 1. I can do that. We can reboot him. Okay. I think that's fine. So first things first, we've got to do our stuff and then iterate the current column plus 1. Every time that'll get us to that. And then if current column is equal to 3, then we're done and we should reset. I think we should set it to 4 because that's when it'll automatically reset back to 1. So this will ensure that it goes 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 forever and never exceeds the bounds of that. And it automatically starts at 1, so we never have to worry about it going 0, whatever else. And it may have to check for the size. So let's do that when we request. Well, it's not going to because the column index for loop will handle that. Okay, so we're good there. Why is this Matt? Did I spell it wrong? Oh, equals current column. Okay, I forgot I'm not in JavaScript. All right. Let's see here. That'll print out the columns. Now we need to do the rows. After you've looped through that, we need to do the row 1, right? Because you're going down 1. Row, current row equals current row plus 1. If you do that, then you've gone down 1, which is separate. Well, you already do that because you're looping through rows. I don't think I need current row, do I? No, because it goes down to 1. I guarantee you challenge 2 is going to change that. Where like, well, you need to go down 2, but then dodge a tree, and then all the code you wrote is worthless, because that's how Advent of Code works. Is they try to emulate clients and product owners changing requirements on you after you've arrived at this magnificent solution that you've spent time to improve. Then they change things on you. You're like, why? That's why Advent of Code is supposed to be an escape, but it's actually very similar to the real world. Okay, so every time it goes, oh, you know what? We need to abort. We need to abort the loop. And then we need to start where you were in the column. Oh, okay. I need to think about this. I wish I had paper. I had paper. I had a really nice book I used to write in every day. Then we work from home, and it's like, why do that? Okay, so this actually is not really true. You don't need to reset it. What we need to do is if it equals 4, 3, then you need to break. You need to stop looping, because you'll go to the next row. You'll start at the current column where you are currently, and the current column will reset, but it won't reset because you want to reset it. Ugh, okay, which means that I need to keep it constantly going. Okay. So we're going to do current column run through. We're also going to add 1 to this. If you have done 3 things, then we will reset this guy to 1 and reset the clock. But that allows the column to keep going because you're constantly going right. Okay, I think we solved that problem. Now we're probably going to get some bounds errors, but that's okay. Let's detect if we're on a tree or not. So we'll print out like if you hit a tree or not. So we'll do that first based on the current column you're on, which is that column, and that's okay. We only care if it's on the current column. If column index is equal to the current column, then print out what you hit, which is a column. And that's going to either be empty or a tree. If it's a tree, we're going to have to increment how many trees we hit. So we'll say trees hit. Currently it starts at 0, and every time we hit something, if column is equal to a tree, then we need to increment that counter to keep track of how many trees we hit over time. Then it'll immediately update the state variables, reset it if we've gone through enough times, and if it gets out of bounds, we're going to get a runtime exception. So I guess that's okay. So let's give it a shot. I'm not going to keep track of what I actually hit, but I guess I could. Yeah, I can do that. Let's do that. Let's make it a little more helpful. We'll say row is row index, column is column index, and the current column is the current column. So that'll give us where we're at currently when we're iterating to the right. And then lastly, what we actually hit, which is the column. Okay. Horrible, horrible variable names. You're welcome. I am explaining how you write code that you never actually want to put in production. And if you're following true test-driven development, you would write the test first using red, green, refactor. I'm only using red, green for Christmas colors, not actually doing software development. All right, so it gave us a row of 1, a column of 1, and the column's empty. Then it ran to column 2, and then it stopped. That's, what's the word I'm looking for? Absolute lame sauce. Oh, my youngest daughter's here. I like trains too, darling. Interesting. Why did it stop on 2? Okay. I don't know why it stopped on 2. We'll figure it out. So when it was current column was 3. Oh, because it didn't equal current column. Okay. So current column was 3. It should go through again. Well, technically, that's because it only printed out 2 times because it's not the current column. That's fine. That's fine. Let's print this at the top because I can compare if current index is the same as current column index. Once we get this working, we'll be able to pretty quickly get the walking down because the row loop already handles all that. Default clothing could not fetch your clothing. I'm now a floating trash can toaster food server dude. I look like a broken Fallout robot. Whatever. My internet's bad, but I don't care. Let's run slow and see if it works. There we go. Okay, so a lot better loops. So something's going on with that if statement. Let's take a look-see here. Why is it? It is looping through the entire time. And when 1 and 2 are the same, it loops. But notice how it resets the column there. Why does it reset the column? Interesting. The column index. Current column run through. Starts at 1, and then the next one would be 2, the next one would be 3. If it's 3, it stops that loop and then restarts the next. But why does it constantly go to 2? Let's just change it to 4, see if it works. Let's do it. So it loops through everything. Yeah, so it's now doing 3, which is good. It keeps resetting at 3, which is fine. Totally fine. I guess what I'm confused about, though, is that you don't need to current colon run through. Do I have this backwards? If you loop through the current column, you add a 1 to it, and then the running tally's different. Oh, well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I think it's fine. Let's print out how many trees it actually hit instead of printing out this for now. Comment that out, and we'll just print out. Let's see what it does. It probably does nothing, but you never know. Let's figure it out. You know, what's interesting is that the columns are going to start getting nils because it's at the end of the array because it reached the side, even though the rows are like really large. Yeah, it didn't hit any. Okay. Let's print this out one more time. I'm very curious as to why does the column reset? Let's see when it resets. And we can actually see it in English. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll get lucky. All right, here we go. We're going to read a gigantic console statement. Let's see what it says here. So it does the first one, the second one, the resets. So clearly doing 3 is not good because it's actually at the end when it pluses 1. That makes sense. Okay, so this guarantees that it does all 3. Okay, gotcha. No big deal. Let's do it again. My brain is wired for zero-based arrays. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Clear, if these arrays were 0, I'd be solved the puzzle by now. Not. All right, so far so good. I think what's interesting is that see how the CC goes beyond the bounds? I'm thinking that if the current column is greater than or equal to the row length, which is pound row, that means that it's like 32 or whatever, we're done because we can't loop anymore because we're at the edge of the map. You know what I mean? So we'll just return out of the entire set of for loops. Trees hit. Actually, you know what? We'll just do a state variable. We'll say hit edge, hit right edge. This is going to come back and bite me. I know it. I've been programming long enough. When you write stuff like this, it's going to come back and bite you in challenge 2. We'll say hit right edge equals true, and then we'll say break, and then at the end of the row, we'll say if hit right edge equals true, then we'll break out of the main for loop, and so we have no more loops going on. And we're going to see a lot less console logs now. Trust me. Trust me. Let's find out. Yep. Literally stopped at the end there. Okay, so notice how it hit a tree here, but it didn't. Oh, that's because it's not the same as a column. Okay. So we got an empty, empty, empty. Go to the next row. Empty, empty, empty. Go to the next row. Empty, empty, empty. Okay. So that seems fine. I find it interesting that if we go down 2, we get a tree. All right, let's take a look at our puzzle input. So go 1, 2, 3. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put this on a new line temporarily. 1, 2, 3, down 1. So that should be a tree right there. And you'll notice that this one says it's empty because it's on row 2, column 1, Oh, it's on column 1. You know what's interesting is the index is not starting from where the column starts. That's a problem. All right, let's undo that puzzle input real quick before I break my stuff. So notice how we're concerned about if the column index is the current column, but we're not actually starting from the current column. Actually, let's just abort. Let's see. Because I don't want to increment this, right? Unless you've actually started like there. So let me think here. You don't want to. If you start from 0, it's kind of stupid, right? Like you know, in a for loop, you can say like start from this index. There's another type of loop I can do. Little loops. There's one where you can like say for, and it starts at a very specific index. Is it a for loop? No, where is it? Yeah, maybe this is it. There we go. Yeah, it has a do statement. Let's do that because we don't need to loop through. Like all the rows are fine, but we don't need to loop through all the columns. You know what I mean? So let's change this up here. We'll keep column index. That's fine, but and we don't need to have a do on a new line. Why do they have a -1? Is it -1? Why did they do that? Whoever wrote this is a weirdo. Print on. Oh, this is counting down. I want to go 1, 10, plus 1. Okay. God, what a horrible example. No one in the world codes like that. Backwards far, like the last people on the planet who did backwards while loops were Flash developers because while minus was like fastest. Like that's so esoteric, and no one does that anymore, man. All right. So in our case, column index starts from the current column that we're currently at and goes to a max of rows because that's like the max we can loop, and then it increments once each time. So if we do that, then every time we loop, we'll start from the current index and continue from there, which has nothing to do with interesting. The current column index actually is starting from the current column. Fascinating. But that's okay. That's where we want to start anyway, so that's okay. We want to increment the column index 1 each time. And the current column as well. But if the current column is greater than the row number we're done, if the current column... Yeah, well, that'll stop because of this guy, right? He'll make sure that after 3, like, we're done, it breaks, and we're good. So I don't think we have a column anymore. What we actually have is an access of that particular row. So we'll go rows, and we'll access the column index to get our current item. And that'll give us our item. Okay, let's give that a shot. Give it a shot. I have faith. I have faith. So day 1 and day 2, I'm pretty sure I solved in like 20 to 30 minutes each, maybe less. This one's going to take a while. Column 1. Oh, it's actually getting the full string. That's awesome. We don't need rows. Rows and columns gives us a row. We want row. That's hilarious. This is what happens when you don't make functions and you start having tons of local variables collide. If you just make small functions to do one thing and one thing well, then you have a lot more freedom on variables and you can think in that local context. But it's okay. I'm just trying to get it to work. We can make the code pretty later. Much better. So we hit 9 trees. Okay. Much better. Let's give it a shot. Drum roll, please. This could be the first one I get wrong on the first try. Think positive. Incorrect. If you're stuck, make sure you're using the full. I am. I'm not stuck. I'm just a moron. All right, so I got my first wrong answer, which is okay. So all of these. So you go past the bottom of the map. Mine's impossible because my input's like vertical. I wonder if I'm looking at my input wrong. Like, is this map supposed to go to the right or something? Because like you if you go down, you eventually get here. You won't go to the bottom. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. The top left corner of your map and follow the slope of right. 3 and within 1. How many trees would you encounter? I don't know. They look kind of close though, right? Because you went down, then you hit a tree, and then you go down tree. So let's look at our puzzle input again. That kind of makes sense, right? Because you go 1, 2, 3, hit nothing, go down, hit a tree. Then you go 1, 2, 3, go down, hit a tree. 1, 2, 3, down, hit a tree. Yeah, and so eventually you get down here and you just stop. That seems right. Interesting. And I'm not looping through the whole thing. So, is my puzzle input wrong? This is what happens last year, where day 1 and 2 were awesome. 3 was rough. Super rough. Let's whip out the old code. It's not written in for loops, not written in Lua, but maybe I can get a hint to what I did differently. I think it was the 2018, maybe. So let's go look at the 2018. See if we can glean some ideas here. These are the claims. Was it the claims? So I built visuals of these back in 2018. So let's see here. That was the frequency parser. Then we had the checksum parser. Then we had the claims, which had areas that overlapped. Then you had... Where's day 4? Sleep schedule? No. There was one that was very similar to this. Maybe it was in 2019. No, that was a coordinate. That was the Voronoi map. Maybe it was 2019? I'm pretty sure we had a very similar challenge in 2019. Why can't I find it? Well, we'll go to GitHub then. Let's go back and search for 2019. I'm pretty sure there was a, what do you call it? It was very similar. It wasn't trees. It was like you hit claims or something. Let's take a look. Wow. Okay, I don't even know if I checked in the day 3 code. It was so bad. That's pretty hilarious. What's the puzzle input? Let's see what the input is. Nope, this one's the 1s and 0s. What about day 1? Now I'm nervous. Now I'm nervous. I'm not sure if the input's the same. Let's see. No, these were the numbers. All right, I'm on my own. I'm going to have to figure this out without going to Reddit. All right, so trees are marked and you're going to grow in exact integer coordinates and grid. You make a map for your puzzle bit. Open squares, and you can see this. Oh, that's the key that I'm missing. Okay. So I got to convert my puzzle input first before I parse it. Oh. Okay, that's why it's not wide. I missed a step. Okay. You start on the open square dot on the top left corner and need to reach the bottom below. Okay. The The same pattern repeats to the right many times. How many times? 32 times? All right, let's do it. Let's start doing some ASCII art. That'll solve this problem. It's always easier to do things when you can visually see it here. So it looks like we have, let's see, how many columns? Is there a column in this text editor? Of course not. That would be helpful. Let's count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So there's 31, and this pattern repeats. What we're looking for is how do they know it repeats though? Like, you know how they have this thing? Arbitral genetics and biome stability. I thought he was going to allude to the algorithm I could use to cheat and Google for it, but it's not there. How do you know how many? Same pattern repeats. You start. I wonder if I have to like repeat my pattern so many times that I can hit the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, how does he repeat his so many times? Oh, he repeats his enough to guarantee he has enough rows to get to the bottom. Okay. So I literally have to repeat my entire puzzle input. My God. Okay. Got it. So let's take a guess here. If we have to go right 3 and down 1, that's the slope. Oh, I should have paid attention in geometry. Or is it algebra? I don't know. Anyway, we've got to guess how many times we need to repeat it before we go down. So that means, like, for example, if you go like across 3 down, like eventually, if it was 1 at a time, you could just count, right? How many rows? So we need 2,000 times 3 across, right? So if this guy, God, I keep doing that. Yeah, we don't need to launch Roblox right now. We're already in it. So what that means is that if this guy is like, what, 2,000 lines long or 300, then we need to multiply that by the length of the string, then multiply that by 3 to get how wide it should be, and we'll repeat that pattern. That way we have enough to repeat. Okay. Joe Pesci. Okay. Let's fix this first. So we bring in our rows, and that's fine, but you can't do that. What you need to do is count how many lines it is before we start going down this insanity. So let's go to... actually, Roblox might have something for this. Let's check their string first, and then... Or Lua's string first. Lua, count... Well, no, I can count the... what do you call it? I can count the line breaks. That's fine. I'll do that. Okay, so count the line breaks. Rows. How many rows we have multiplied by that, then you need to repeat that in your particular row that many times. So row count, and then instead of this tree or not list, right, we need to multiply that by that. So you know what I need is an array fill. I wish I had an array fill in Lua. How do you do an array fill? I wonder if you can do a table fill. Lua table fill? Is there like a... Ugh, there's no pre-fill. Fill. Oh, lame. I really need Lodash for Lua. Like the examples I've found are just not all the way there. Yeah, but like I don't want to manually do it, you goofball. All right, we'll just write it. No big deal. We can do this. We can totally do this. All right. I'm going to pre-fill this. So we've split our items. So we have our list, basically. And that list needs to be repeated in a multiple of 3 plus 1, just in case we have some buffer. Because there's nothing wrong with buffer. It's not going to hurt the algorithm. Because once you hit the bottom, that's all you really care about. So we'll say we don't even need to hit edge because the row will stop counting. Okay. How do I duplicate this array multiple times without having list comprehensions. Like, is there? Ooh, wait a minute. Is there a? I got an idea. A Lua list concatenator tables, and then Roblox. Like maybe they have some table utils. You never know. Never know, man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do we have a concat? Do we have any methods that are good? Insert. Yeah. Not really helpful. Ugh. These are all basic things, man. I need some like utils. Okay, here we go. Concat. Give an array of elements where strings are blah blah blah. The default separate is an empty string. Default what? Who wrote these docs? Like, is that English? Because I'm a reasonably mature adult age, and I don't know what that means. Like, maybe my 9-year-old knows that it's super elite speak, and she knows what it means. Given an array where elements are strings or numbers, returns string t, separate t plus 1, separate t. Default value is separate string. Can I just concatenate tables and see what happens? I'm just going to do that because that doesn't make any sense. Pack. I know what pack and unpack is. Move elements. Ooh. Create. Creates a table in an array portion allocated to the given number of elements, optionally filled with the given value. Fantastic. So we could pre-fill it and then map over it. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, see how they concatenate here? They concat, like they flatten. It's almost like join. That's not a concat. Whatever. This is good. We can do this. We can do this. All right. We're going to create a table with 300 or whatever, and then map through it a bunch of times. Base array. Well, we'll call it base column array, right? And then table create. And what's the parameter order they have? The parameter order they have is an index and then the value, the total length of the array that you would desire. What is going on? Too many buttons. We want it to rows length times 4. If we did 3, I might have gotten the math wrong because it goes down. So let's just multiply by 4. That should give us enough to know that he hit the bottom. Actually, you know what? If we hit the side, we know we're in trouble. So if we hit right edge, let's say error, hit right edge. This is so anti-functional programming. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll do that. It'll automatically break. Hey, fantastic. Thanks. Thanks, Lua Code Editor, Roblox Studio, for getting rid of negative unused code. Appreciate that. All right, so now that we have our rows times 3, we'll just pre-fill it with like a negative dash. That means it's blank. It's ready to go. And then we can map that base, right? Because that's like the base one, and we're going to repeat that with those values over and over and over again. How do we repeat? How do we reset a counter? I could probably do that with a map if I had a base counter. Okay, we'll do that. Base counter is 1. Local base counter length is the length of that guy. So we'll just reset it every time. And then we'll say tree or not list is a map which gets the item. And let's not forget to pass the array this time. That'd be embarrassing. And it's going to loop through that gigantic 1,000 log size table. And we will insert in this particular table. God, I'm doing mutation. Oh, gross. Actually, can you do table insert in Roblox? Is that what you're supposed to do? Insert. Table insert. Or is it like table insert? You know what I mean? Let me undo that. how do you insert? Because like in Lua, you do insert, but it looks like they want me to inject it directly in there. Okay. See, I'm going to be inserted between the start and end by including position. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to set the value. We'll just set the value. It's fine. Jumping between Roblox Lua and other Lua is hard. Hard. All right, so we'll say base counter. Base counter equals whatever our item is, right? Actually, we don't even care about the item. So we'll just put don't care. You're supposed to put an underscore in like in functional programming if you don't care, but I'm going to change it to just don't care, and we're not going to use it. What that's going to be is this guy's position. And we'll return it. So I take that back. Return. So I have some functional programming left. Fantastic. Base counter. But then, if base counter is equal to the base counter length, then we have to reset it. Base counter 2 equals to 1. All right, so we'll get the local mapped. And we'll return that. Okay, so now we can reset it. We're good. We'll just keep resetting the counter as it goes to the entire mapped array. That'll get the trio map list. It'll return that whole thing and give us that gigantic array. Once it's gigantic, then if we hit the side, we know we got problems, right? Because you didn't make it wide enough. Hopefully, this means we can iterate all the way down the 2,000 row gigantic table, and I think we're good. All right, let's copy pasta just in case if I hit stop. There we go. We're good. Okay. Save. Paranoia. Play. All right. I feel really good about this. It'll work the first time. I'll look like a rock star. That's the hope anyway. We shall see.com. All right. Here we go. Trees hit. 323. So we're in row 108. How many rows do I have again? 327? Am I the only one that thinks that's off? Off. Why do I feel like that's off? Well, let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? You get made fun of live. It's probably going to say too low. They give you hints sometimes. Yeah, your inch is too high. If you're stuck. Too high. Interesting. Too high. I was thinking it's going to be too low. That's even worse. All right, so we tried 9. That was wrong because of we did the repetition wrong, right? So 9 wrong, and then we did too high, and it said it was too high. Why did it say it was too high? Let's take a look at our first. We'll just return right here. We'll do a resolve right here. And we'll just say return resolve true. And we'll take a look at what is our, you know what, we don't have to do resolve true. We'll just comment it out. I'm very curious what our first one is. You know what I mean? Like our first map tree. So let's print that out. I'm curious if it's like really big and, you know. So we'll do the first item in it, and the length of it. We'll print that out as well. And that should give us some information. And then finally, we'll say first item. And then it should be like a dot, right? Because that's what we saw last time, which is fine. Copy pasta, just in case. Okay, let's go. But the good news is it did go to the rows. Okay. Run slow. Right, so it's a table. It's 1,292 wide. That's cool. And then the first item is a tree. Okay. That's fine. Why is the first item a tree? That doesn't seem right. First item is not a tree. Interesting. The first item is supposed to be a dot. So why is the first item, the first row, tree or knotless base? And then I map it. And I say get the base counter, which starts at 1. And I return that as the tree or not list, right? And then I map through the tree or not list. If it's yeah, it's the same pattern. And then it loops through the entire thing, which is fine. So why? Actually, you know what? We don't even have to map twice. We could do this logic like literally in line. Let's do that. That way it's less code. Yeah, we'll just loop through here. Mapped. If the value is a dot, then let's see, local mapped. And we'll say mapped is empty. Otherwise, mapped is a tree. And then the base counter will keep going. Otherwise, we'll repeat the same pattern. Oh, you know what? I think we need to flatten the pattern first and then repeat it because you're restarting from the entire row. Does that make sense? So, like, you can't repeat the same row. You have to, like, flatten it first, repeat it, and then flatten it back. Did I say that right? I think I said that right. Because each row is different. You know what I mean? So, like, but that's okay, right? I think because it's repeated. Yeah, no, that's fine. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. So, local value. That'll give us our tree. And then the base counter length. And the base is 1. Which resets it, which is great. And yeah, because that gives you the length of the actual item tree. And I think that's big enough, right? So, okay. So we map through the tree or not list, give that back, and then let's do our rep here. I don't know if this will be able to handle this amount of data, but we'll try. I think it's just repper, right? Okay, we'll give it a shot. Might not be able to handle it, but let's give it a shot. It's going to give us a gigantic list of trees. It's going to loop through the entire array and print it out, I think, if I did this correctly. Repper. I don't know what that stands for. Represent, maybe? Represent. Yep. I should have put a weight. Oh, man. I hope I didn't crash Roblox. Okay. Rows and columns. Yeah. Didn't like that. The value is... Oh, we got to return mapped. Oh, God. I'm getting tired. All right, let's give that a shot. So that'll give us a tree or empty, and we just repeat that step. We're good. Man, even with for loops and map, using all the tools of my tool belt, I'm still getting my tail kicked. All right. I think That's still weird because the first item is not supposed to be a tree, right? If you look at our puzzle input, the first item is like literally a dot. Oh, wait, it's not. Whoops. Save. All right, let's try again. We defaulted to anything that's not a dot as a tree, which is actually wrong. True parsing would say that's an error and your parsing is wrong. But I didn't. Still wrong. That's incorrect. Then mapped as a tree. Sorry, it's else if. All right, let's give it a shot. Because I'm pretty sure the first item is not a pound symbol. Actually, you know what? I probably should print out base columns array too. I'm so used to JavaScript just console logging everything. Let's use the mature tools. You ready for this? I'm ready for this. Oh yeah, breakpoint baby. Let's do it. It's mature tooling. If you can actually use breakpoints, you don't have to use this console log insanity. I can actually hover over the values and see it. This, kiddos, is why you sleep. I'm also going to break on every single unhandled exception. Oh, it didn't stop on my code. That's disappointing. Okay. Let's step right here. Maybe it'll allow us to debug there. Ready, go. I am a Michelin man. There we go. Okay, so we're interested in our value. So let's step through this here. We're going to go step over. Our value is, what's our value? How can I see that? Watch. That's a dot. Okay. Step over. If dot, then mapped is empty. Fantastic. Base counter increases by 1. So what is base counter? 1. Okay, fantastic. What is mapped? Mapped is empty. How is mapped empty? Oh, it's the string empty. LOL. Okay, and then that's fantastic. And then base column array. How big is base column array? Like, can I add a watch to that? Base column. Well, it says it's not in scope, but actually it is. It's right there. That's kind of interesting. What are you here? What about here? Oh. It's not allowing me to see it. That's interesting. Okay, before we go any further, let's try something here. Let's print table create 3 cow. And then we'll literally put a breakpoint right there, play it, and then see what prints out. I probably should do a variable of it and then do that. I'm not sure what table create actually does. I thought it did what I thought it did, but I'm not sure anymore. Let's find out. Breakpoint! All right, what did you print out, bro? You print out a table? Okay, but I can't see what's in that table. Let's make it a variable. What? All right, so if you put the breakpoint right there, I should be able to see it. What is what, man? Okay, it's a table. Am I not allowed to look at it? I want to add a watch to this guy. Well, that's lame. No, it's doing exactly what I thought it was doing. All right, so let's get past this and go down to here. We'll say resume. And then go down to here on mapped, resume. And let's take a look at mapped is empty. All right. Go down to here, and we'll take a gander at what is that. So see how the table actually looks correct now. It looks just like my input. Rows and columns. That's what we're interested in, right? And the first row is empty. So how come when I go to rows and columns 1 and 1, it shows a tree? Because that's not a what? Like why would it say that? You know what I mean? It's the most bizarre thing ever. All right, well, whatever. We'll hit resume, and then it prints out first item empty. So as I inspect the code, it works. That's what's the word I'm looking for? Weird. Like it actually acts different when I debug it. Okay. So we'll uncomment all our craziness. We'll hit play. And I don't need my breakpoint. That's okay. We'll let it run. Not a big deal. Why are you empty? I wonder if it's like cache code or something. How bizarre. All right. Trees hit 60. Stop. So let me get rid of that breakpoint. Now that's a lot less. Okay. Here we go. So if you're wondering what this is, it's a common thing I do to like know what I've done, how many tries it took me to get this puzzle. So let's try 60. Interesting. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. Like it makes you wait 1 minute to try again. I remember when it was like you have to wait like 5 hours or something awful. Interesting. So I think my table was kind of correct. Let's take a look one more time to make sure it's the right size. Let's go here and then see how wide it is, because it doesn't look like it's going like the columns look right, where it's like, a bunch of columns. But why is it stopping on row 108? Because clearly it's bigger. You know what I mean? All right, so let's take a look here. All right, so if I open one, it is how many items? Yeah, that sounds about right. Like 2,000, right? Yeah, 1292. Okay, that's cool. So that's whatever that is divided by 4 is how many columns you have. So far, so good. I'm down with that. I dig that. I dig it. So how many actual rows do we have? Yeah, it has 323 rows. So why does it stop at like this 100 thing? It's supposed to go all the way to 300, but it stops at like that bottom number. Let's see here. Row index. We're not modifying row index ever. The only break it does is if you've done that, which breaks out of the column index. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. I wonder if it's just like aborting the loop because it took too long, or maybe like Lua has a limit in Roblox on loops. I don't know. I could do a wait, which would significantly slow it down, but we could try. Yeah, see how it like stops at 108? I wonder. Let's try something. Print If row index is 108, then hey. Else, if row index is 109, then print what? And then that should only fire at the end, and it should never print what? Because it doesn't make it to 109. All right, if this doesn't work, I'm going to put a wait in there. I'm wondering if I'm getting capped. While that's loading, does Roblox have a time limit on loops? Limit time times time remaining. I'll do. So it actually looks like it waits. So you could actually crash the game by going too much. Interesting. So maybe it doesn't block them. Okay, there goes that ideal. Take responsibility for your code, Jesse. Hey, what? So it does hit 109. Fascinating. Why does it hit 109 and just stop? What? 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 All right, so if it hits 109, then it tries to set the current column index to the number of rows. Oh, that's the wrong number. Gosh, I'm a moron. Okay, that's not the column count. That's what we had way up here. Remember this thing? It's rows times 4. Yeah, times 4. God, magic variables everywhere. Oh, I miss imperative coding, where you have to keep track of all these variables in your head. Where I can just do recursion and like I still have some variables, but then it's even harder if you didn't grow up with it. All right. There we go. 159. 159. Much better. Much better. And we get to the end, see? We got to the bottom of the row, which is 323, and 169 on the side. So our estimate of like times 4 gave us some buffer, right? Which is pretty cool. So let's go wrong. Let's do 159. Oh, no. You might be longer on the count or just unlucky. I'm unlucky. I'm usually a lucky guy, but not tonight. If you're stuck, make sure you're using the full input. Your data is also general tips on the Reddit page. Yeah, this is the problem. Now I have to wait 5 minutes, which is fine. Yeah, that's my puzzle input. So, interesting. Interesting. So I'm close. I'm definitely close. When we start the iterations, we're starting at the row index of 1 and for the I pairs, right? And, I'm wondering if I just get rid of I pairs too. It shouldn't change trees hit to 159. You know what I mean? So let's do it. We'll get rid of it. Let's, for row index equals, 1. And as much as we want the length of this guy. And we basically increment 1 each time, right? And each time we'll get the row, which is the rows and columns based on the row index, which is row index. Let's see if that does anything different. It probably doesn't, but I'm just curious. Maybe it's an index thing or a number thing. Not sure. Never know. Try a bunch of ideas. See what works. Nope. Exact same answer. 159, right? That's what I put, right? I'm pretty sure I have it 159. Where I got it wrong. 159 is wrong. Yeah. Okay. So let's think about this. Because I think my array is correct. Like I think it's legit and looks good based on like looking through the debugger. I think the only way I could validate would be actually to see if the pattern repeats. You know what I mean? Let's do that. I think that's a good quality check. Let's do that. Because if it repeats correctly on like both the top and the second, then I'm probably good. Like it's correct. You repeated correctly. If that's wrong, that would explain why the trees are off. Let's see here. The repper. Oh, hey, what's up, Ash? Sorry. Repper is it's like a pretty print, but it doesn't really work. I found it in one of the old Roblox forums they shut down. So let's see, rows and columns. All right, so this first one has like, what is it, 31, I think? And then it goes to like 10. Let me check here. It does 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So I should have 10 if I look at the same one as before. Right? So should be like 9 should be an empty in the row. And then 10 should be a tree. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Something wrong with our first row. Yep, that's busted. It's a good thing I did QA on my own parsing data. Second looks busted. Yeah, they're all empty. There's no trees. Okay, so tree or not base counter. It doesn't look like this base counter thing is being incremented every loop. Oh, because I'm using a map. What's called, let me look up. Hold on. Science.com. A moron. Yeah, I'm a moron. Okay. I forgot to add 1. All right, let's try this again. Please save my changes. Please save my changes. All right. How embarrassing. Ugh. I wonder if it's because I'm on camera. I wonder if my brain intelligence shrinks because I'm more interested in being entertaining than actually leveraging brain cells to solve math problems, which is untrue because I'm actually attempting to do well right now. My goal tonight was to build trees. Okay, 182. Here we go. Hit stop, and we'll go to the very top. Let's try 182. Wow. Okay. Now I'm in real trouble. Okay. So step 1's fine. Let's do some more data checking. Maybe my columns are broken too. This is the sound of ultimate suffering. Man, I was high on life because I absolutely crushed day 1 and day 2. I may have to figure this out tomorrow morning, which is all right. I can also whip out the Python and JavaScript. All right, let's do some QA. So rows and columns. Step 1 should be empty tree. That looks good. Right? For the 10, fantastic. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. And then empty tree. All right, so what we're looking at is if I copy this puzzle input, let's try something real quick. Let's count start playing with some texture. So at 323, we should see an exact repeat at 324, which would be this same pattern right there. Okay, so let's do both. We'll check out 1 and we'll check out 320. Is it 323? Yeah, we'll check them both. So it should be the last tree at 31. It should be 30.